All right. Good afternoon to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista. Welcome to our live stream for Hurricane Erin this afternoon. We're tracking Erin being a large and, very dangerous hurricane. And it will bring impacts to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, although obviously we are not expecting a landfall at this time. But I decided, why not do a live stream right now to go over all of the latest on Hurricane Erin. We haven't done a live stream for really much of any storm this hurricane season so far. We could have done one on Claudette, but not Claudette. What was the storm? Chantal. But we're finally doing one now on Hurricane Erin since it will bring impacts to the Outer Banks. I will go over in this live stream everything you need to know on what Erin will potentially do and all of its current information, including recon, satellite imagery, all of that. We're going to go over all of it in this live this afternoon. So hope you enjoy what you see today. And if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, the live chat, and I'll definitely try to answer any questions you have. I actually have the live chat open right now, so please make sure to leave a comment there. And if you're new and you like this live stream and you like what we do here, and you're new to my channel, which I'm sure probably a lot of you will be, please make sure to subscribe to my channel as well, because we'll be doing these live streams a lot more. Especially as Erin will be an issue to talk about for the next several days, probably not till the end of the week. Will Erin finally be out of our hair? So we're going to be talking about Erin quite a bit for these next few days, and probably doing a lot more of these live streams. So please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and follow me also on Twitter, which I will show you what my Twitter handle is in a little bit, and I'll also put it in the description as well of this live, so you can follow me on Twitter there. But if you don't want to go through all of that and you just want to follow me, I'll tell you right now, my name is the same as I have here on YouTube, Danilo Evangelista. So with that being said, let's get started on our live stream. Starting off with a satellite picture of Hurricane Erin this afternoon. And it's looking pretty slick, I must tell you. Definitely one of the more photogenic storms we've seen in the Atlantic. So far throughout its entire life, Erin has had a pretty slick and impressive look to it, but it's really even more impressive this afternoon. It's a very, very large hurricane. And finally, after quite a bit of time of Erin dealing with wind shear and dry air, it finally has rebuilt its inner core, and we now have a clear eye associated with this storm, likely signaling that Erin is now trying to re-strengthen, and recon has been in the storm for the entire morning so far, and they have found that the pressure has dropped quite a bit from last night to this morning. The pressure is now in the low 940s, and it's probably going to drop further. In fact, the National Hurricane Center, which I'll show you what their forecast is in a little bit, the National Hurricane Center forecasts now that Erin will probably re-strengthen into a major hurricane over the next day or so as it passes just to the east of the coastal region of North Carolina. So with that being said, here's the latest on Hurricane Erin right now. As of the 11 a.m. advisory, maximum sustained winds at 110 miles per hour. So this is actually right on the cusp of becoming a major hurricane once again. And the National Hurricane Center forecasts it'll do so, and I wouldn't be surprised, since it's on the cusp of already becoming a major hurricane. I think it's almost certainly probably going to do so. Minimum central pressure now at 941 millibars. This is down from, I believe, pressure in like the upper 950s or 960 millibars it was last night. So this has dropped overnight into today a full 20 millibars. So Erin is definitely on a strengthening phase once again, and it is moving north now at 13 miles per hour. It was moving north-northwest slightly earlier today, but now it's starting to take a more northerly turn, and hopefully it continues on a northerly turn and not shift further west or have any wobbles that brings it any closer to the Carolinas coast than it already will now, because we're already going to have quite a bit in terms of storm surge, winds, heavy rain, and I'll go over all of those impacts that we are going to expect here along the Outer Banks of North Carolina in a little bit. But very large storm strengthening, and once again, show you the National Hurricane Center track. We now have major hurricane forecast points back in the cone. And I do want to stress that the forecast here is for the center of Erin. This is not for where the impacts of the storm will be. This forecast is only for where the center, the eye of Hurricane Erin will pass. And obviously that's going to be out to sea, but you can see here what the wind field is on Hurricane Erin, and it's very large. In fact, I believe the winds extend as much as 200 to 300 miles out from the center. So in total, that's around 400 to 500 miles of the total diameter of the wind field across from end to end. In fact, let's actually look at the public advisory here from the National Hurricane Center. They actually mention how large the wind field is. Erin is a large hurricane, obviously. Hurricane force winds, this is as of the 11 a.m. advisory. Hurricane force winds, where is it? I lost it. Here it is. Extend outward of 90 miles upward away from the center at 90 miles. So this is the hurricane force winds, extend outward from the center 90 miles. And the tropical storm force winds extend outward of 265 miles. So this is indeed a very, very large hurricane. And obviously, that is, the entire wind field of the hurricane is not just the center alone. And that's going to be the story that we will have here for the Outer Banks of North Carolina and now portions of southern Virginia as well, because from what it seems like, the National Hurricane Center has now updated the watches and warnings, and it does seem like portions of Virginia are now in a tropical storm warning now for Erin as well. So let's see what the latest advisories are. Tropical storm warning in effect for Beaufort Inlet, North Carolina to Chincoteague, Virginia, including the Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds. Tropical storm warning now in effect for most of the Outer Banks of North Carolina and portions of the southern Virginia coast as well. So it's not just North Carolina now, it's Virginia too. And of course, because as I've mentioned before, the wind field of Erin will be humongous, that we might even get some strong winds in Bermuda. So tropical storm watches are in effect for them too. And this is going to be strengthening over the next few days. So this is going to be strengthening while it's going to be gaining size, even more than it's already even larger than it already has right now. This is going to be quite a remarkable system, and it already is. I mean, just look at how huge this thing is. Cloud cover extending all the way from the east coast now of the Carolinas. Not seeing any of these bands making their way onshore yet, but believe me, it's already large now. In fact, let me see if I could bring up, is there any other satellite shot that I can bring up? Because there was a pretty interesting satellite shot that I saw earlier. Let's see if I could find it. It was the United States. Yes, I think it's the United States. This is, and I actually posted this satellite imagery earlier, though, from Tropical Tidbits, not from Cyclonic Weather, which is the website I'm using now. This is Hurricane Erin compared to the rest of the United States right now. And Erin is so large that it pretty much encompasses the entire size of Texas. So try to rationalize that, if you will. This is a pretty huge storm, and that's going to be the big story with Erin is the large wind field and the large size that even though this will be passing east of the coast, this will not make landfall. This will still bring tropical storm force winds for coastal North Carolina, especially along the Outer Banks and Virginia. And there is also a slew of other impacts that'll occur with Erin as well, which we'll go over in a little bit. But do really quickly want to touch upon the fact that this is strengthening. And obviously, the National Hurricane Center forecasts this to strengthen even further. And they've been in the storm pretty much the entire morning so far, and you could see the pressure has indeed fallen so far from the latest recon, from 948 millibars down to 943 in terms of the extrapolated pressure. The dropson, though, actually indicated, this is actually not the proper dropson I wanted. Let's see if I can find the eye. This is the one that is in the eye, and this was from not long ago. This is from around 10 o'clock, I think. 10:30, 10:40. They found a dropson in the eye, pressure down at 942 millibars, and the National Hurricane Center went with 941. Let's see if I could actually find any newer ones. That's not the eye. What is this one? Is that the eye? Not the eye either. Where is it? There was a recent pressure. I guess I can't find it, whatever, but let me bring you back here to the recon. They found that the pressure is dropping, so this is strengthening once again, and satellite imagery shows we now have a visible eye, especially compared to yesterday. So, this is definitely rebuilding itself. In fact, I'll show you the microwave imagery here. This is the microwave shot from this morning, so this is a little bit old, but you can already see, even from this morning, we had a pretty tight, compact core beginning to redevelop, and this is especially after yesterday when Erin was getting blasted by sheer and dry air, and its entire inner eye wall pretty much got completely destroyed. Well, this morning, no longer. It's definitely beginning to rebound, and now because of it, we are seeing strengthening occur. But again, the biggest issue will not be the strength of the storm. It's going to be the size and its impacts, which will be an issue regardless of how strong the storm will be. And as you can see, tropical storm force winds will be felt along the Outer Banks. The chance for tropical storm force winds, at least according to the National Hurricane Center, right along the Outer Banks of North Carolina here, anywhere from 20 to 30% chance, and even starting to see some portions of the coastline come into the 30 to 40% chance range. So the chance that we're going to get tropical storm force winds going up. We obviously have tropical storm warnings in effect, but just to put into perspective the size of the storm, we even have a chance for tropical storm force winds that extend once again into the Virginia coast, but it's so large, it also just barely encompasses just off the New England and Northeast shore as well. You actually literally see here portions of the Cape of Massachusetts and New England. Even they are starting to get into the tropical storm force probability swath, and even Atlantic Canada. And we're not going to see a landfall anywhere along any of these areas, but they're already in the tropical, even those places are in the tropical storm force wind swath, and that just goes to show and really puts into perspective how large of a storm Erin is going to be. And obviously, because we will have tropical storm force winds along the coast, there's going to be storm surge, and even this too is updated as well from this morning. Before, the storm surge risk was really only for the Carolinas, all the way from South Carolina up into the Chesapeake Bay. But now the latest 11 a.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center, pretty much the entire East Coast, all the way from South Carolina up into New Jersey, has a risk for storm surge, just because of how large Erin will be, and how large and high the waves will be as a result of Erin. That we're going to have very high waves throughout pretty much the entire East Coast, and that's also going to result in a very high rip current risk, which we have in effect right now. But storm surge is um, also a big, I mean, it's probably a bigger impact. I mean, I don't really want to say that, but I guess you could say storm surge is a bigger impact than rip currents, although rip currents is often an impact very overlooked. But the fact that we have a storm surge risk all the way from South Carolina and, to be precise, South Santee River, South Carolina, all the way up to Sandy Hook, New Jersey. And isn't that name familiar, Sandy Hook? But whatever, let's keep it only on tropics. Sandy Hook, New Jersey, um, all the way from there. So pretty much encompassing the entire East Coast right now, from South Carolina up to New Jersey, we have a storm surge risk. And given the tropical storm force wind field, extending pretty much all the way right up against the Northeast and New England coasts, including portions of Cape Hatteras and the outer Cape here, along Massachusetts, I wouldn't even be surprised if in the coming days we start to see the storm surge threat begin to creep up here from New Jersey up along the rest of the Northeast and New England coastline. And this is just a representation to how large of a storm Erin will be. But obviously, the biggest risk we are watching is right along the Outer Banks of North Carolina, because that's obviously where the highest storm surge will be. And it'll be from Cape Lookout all the way to Duck, North Carolina, where they have 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. And let me actually bring you here to the watches and warnings. That's actually where we have a storm surge warning in effect from Cape Lookout to Duck, North Carolina, because that's where we're going to see the peak storm surge with this storm. So please keep in mind of that as well. And of course, as I also mentioned too, rip currents will also be a very, very big risk. And this is going to be something, this is, once again, a very overlooked impact, because rip currents, while it's not, storm surge where we have flooding and property damage that occurs, rip currents is a very widespread impact that are directly caused by tropical systems. And the rip current risk will be high for literally the entire East Coast for the coming days. And this is only for today and tomorrow. And this is, by the way, from the National Weather Service, but the National Hurricane Center, gathered the data from the National Weather Service and compiled it into this map, which is very neat. And I think they only started doing this hurricane season. But the rip current risk, this is only for today and tomorrow. Rip currents will be high for pretty much the entire East Coast. And this is also something else that people need to pay attention to very closely. Rip currents do cost people's lives. They have before. And in fact, I think it was yesterday or the day before, in some beach here in North Carolina, I believe it was Wrightsville Beach, in just one day alone, over 50 rip current rescues were made. And that's in only one beach alone here in North Carolina. Just imagine how things were along the rest of the coastline, not just in North Carolina, but probably the entire East Coast. And people are not often careful about rip currents. So I'm just bringing it to your attention. There will be a high rip current risk, and this is for today and tomorrow, but it'll probably last throughout the rest of the week. Pretty much throughout the rest of the week that Erin will be churning away here in the Atlantic, especially as it heads off to the northeast, and it'll just absolutely, completely balloon in size. Rip currents will be an issue here along the East Coast. And also, let's really quickly look at this. Rainfall. Not going to be as much of an issue with rainfall. Most of it's going to be offshore. It's really going to be the winds and the surge that'll be the biggest issue. But we will get some rainfall here along the coastal regions of North Carolina. The biggest risk, though, will be the waves and will be the surge. But if you want to keep on top of the risks, especially in your area, because I know a lot of people might have questions about what risks are going to happen to their specific area. If you want to keep on top of the potential for storm surge or rip currents, the biggest resource I could give to you in order to monitor the issues in your local level, not just talking about a national level and an overall look like we look at with these National Hurricane Center graphics, like the rip current risk by the National Hurricane Center, or maybe the tropical storm risk, which shows the wind swath literally all the way from the Bahamas and the wind swath potential along the East Coast up until literally the North Atlantic. If you want to look at the risk for your specific area, the number one resource I can direct you to is to the National Weather Service. And in fact, let's look at here right along the Outer Banks of North Carolina, just to give you an example of all the risks that we will be talking about with this storm. And just along the Outer Banks of North Carolina alone, look at how many hazards we have in effect right now. And by the way, this is the National Weather Service office out of Newport and Morehead City. We have a storm surge warning in effect, obviously, because we will have as much as 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. Tropical storm warnings in effect. And let me really quickly zoom out here. We have tropical storm warnings in effect for the coasts from North Carolina up until Virginia, but quite incredibly, we have tropical storm warnings, offshore tropical storm warnings, literally in effect for the entirety of the East Coast, stretching all the way from South Carolina up until the Northeast, and even offshore, even further offshore from that, we have offshore hurricane warnings in effect because of the amount of winds that'll be produced by Erin, and obviously it's very dramatically large size. And actually, I wonder if this becomes large enough that we might even see some of these tropical storm warnings extended northward, maybe along the Delaware, maybe even southern New Jersey, if this wind field gets large enough that we might see some tropical storm warnings in effect for there. Coastal, not offshore, because right off the shore of New Jersey, even offshore of coastal northeastern New England, like offshore from Long Island and even off the Cape here, there are tropical storm warnings in effect. But obviously none of them are in effect for the coastal regions right along the shore. But I wonder if we might actually see that change soon. But let's really quickly focus in on the Outer Banks, because that's the main topic of discussion right now, is potential impacts that we will see along the Outer Banks. We have storm surge warnings in effect, tropical storm warning, flood warning, and coastal flood warning, coastal flood advisory. And this gives you all the details on the flooding aspect of this storm, which we obviously will have because we are expecting storm surge. But there's also coastal flood advisory, high surf advisory, because we'll have large waves. In fact, let's actually look at how large the waves will be here. So they obviously mentioned 1 to 3 feet of inundation related to storm surge, large breaking waves of 5 to 10 feet in the surf zone, and this all is related to beach hazards, but 1 to 3 feet of storm surge, and let's see, 6 to 12 feet of large waves right offshore, 2 to 3 feet of inundation, and this I think breaks it down by county, I believe. Let's see, do we have any area as high as 2 to 4 feet? Where is this for? East Carteret County. Large waves as high as 10 to 18 feet. So that's also another risk too. Just the amount of large waves we will see from Erin, that might be a huge risk, especially if you are a surfer along one of these beaches here. Be careful of these very high waves. And One thing that you also, I think, probably besides the storm surge and the tropical storm warnings, we also have rip current statements too that are released by the National Weather Service. And let's see what that says. High surf advisory remains in effect till 11 o'clock tomorrow night. And this is for coastal Pender and coastal New Hanover counties. And what will the impacts be? Low-lying roads and locations along the Intracoastal Waterway and adjacent tidal creeks may observe mild coastal flooding. Check with local officials for any road closures or impacts. And obviously, this is all related to the high waves and storm surge that we will have, which, because a lot of these roads, especially along the outer banks of North Carolina, sit literally right along the coastline. And you can just imagine how easy, especially if you live along the Outer Banks, if you're watching from the Outer Banks, which if you are, hello to you. But I can just imagine that these roads here along the Outer Banks flood very easily, even with, only 2 to 4 feet of storm surge like we're expecting. I can just imagine how it'll be whenever we get another major hurricane landfall right along coastal North Carolina, and we have storm surge values as much as 10 to 12 feet. I can only imagine just how much damage it does to the roadways out here along the Outer Banks. But these are all the risks that you need to keep in mind of. And let's actually go back here to the National Weather Service and let's see what risks we have here, even as far north as New Jersey. Even as far north as New Jersey and the New England coastline, we have rip current statements, beach hazard statements, because once again, these rip current risks and these rip currents will be far-reaching, extending as far north, extending and affecting, again, pretty much the entire coastline of the United States, and it'll probably be that way for the next few days. So please, if you want to get information and you want to know the specific information for your specific area, go to the National Weather Service and click on where you are located, or you can also enter your zip code as well for the specific city or zip code you live in, and that'll take you directly to your specific National Weather Service office, and you can get all your information that way. So National Weather Service, or you could type that up at weather.gov. And the beauty of all this information, National Weather Service, and even the National Hurricane Center, is that National Hurricane Center and National Weather Service, all of this information is under the NOAA umbrella, and which that means it's funded directly by the federal government. It's still funded by the federal government, by the way, still receiving funding right now, and probably will always receive funding from the federal government. Things like NOAA, no matter what happens, all of this will always receive funding by NOAA and the National Weather Service. No way that they're going to break any of this up anytime soon. It's really impossible, honestly. But this is all funded by the government, so it's directly by your tax dollars. So all of this information is free. So really no reason to not be underinformed about these type of events, even like Erin, where we have tropical storm warnings in effect for the Outer Banks of North Carolina, even though this will go out to sea. Might be not looking at a major hurricane landfall, but even with that, again, it's just the information we have, and it's all public. No reason to not be informed about what's going to happen with Erin. So with that being said, let's now move on to the models here to see what's going to happen over the next few days with Erin. And the best way to sum it up is that this is pretty much just going to intensify. Will intensify off the East Coast, as you could definitely see here. GFS brings this from 957 millibars, and you can't take this intensity too seriously because this is obviously lower than what the actual intensity of Erin is right now. GFS brings this from 957 millibars and intensifies a little bit over the next few days up until tomorrow, 943 millibars, before it then begins to interact with the jet here and this will probably then begin to transition into a post-tropical system, but not without becoming a ginormous storm here in the northeastern Atlantic. Becomes an absolute powerhouse. And let me actually show you the 10-meter winds. The wind field becomes even larger, if you can believe it. This is the wind field right now on the GFS. This is the wind field as of this morning. And it grows, if you can believe it, grows even larger than it is right now. And then eventually it moves on off here into the northeastern Atlantic, then gets absorbed into this low pressure system that we have here in the far northeastern Atlantic, and then kind of gets kicked off into Iceland and probably the northern UK, and then eventually, becomes out of our hair and not have to worry about it as we head into the end of this week and into early next week, but not without probably churning up a lot of water here. And the wave height that this will be with, I mean, this is going to have so much energy. Let me really quickly show you here the waves through pretty much the entirety of the rest of this week will be incredible throughout the northern Atlantic. And just really quickly showing you what the GFS has, incredible. This is, just look at how high all these waves will be for the entire Atlantic here, stretching all the way into the end of this week, into early next week. First of all, the waves will probably peak at around 50 to 60 feet up in the air, and maybe will be even bigger, depending on, any local areas that might have higher waves. Because, I mean, this scale only goes up to around 50 feet, probably will reach even higher, especially well offshore. But even onshore too, again, for pretty much the entire East Coast, through the rest of this week, waves will probably be as high as 20 feet in many areas, extending all the way from coastal North Carolina here up until New England. And then eventually that stretches into Atlantic Canada. And we even see a lot of very high waves as well for Bermuda. And then eventually, I mean, just look at how, this is incredible. Just look at how much the wave heights here just absolutely balloon out in the northern Atlantic. And then, as you can see here, behind Erin, there is something else that we got to track. And this is one of those areas of interest here that is in the central MDR. And the GFS shows some development of that. Actually becomes a pretty decent system, although, very, very small, especially in comparison to Erin. And obviously, just look at how huge. And this is the remnant energy of Erin, by the way, becomes a ginormous system in the northern Atlantic. And then we have something else that develops here beyond Erin, right behind it. And at least looking at the next week, the GFS keeps the ridge far east enough here that this will probably more than likely just get booted on off out to sea. We won't have to worry about any potential direct impacts from this storm that may potentially develop, at least for the East Coast, although it does get pretty close to Bermuda. So we'll see what happens going forward here in the tropics. And that actually brings me now to sea surface temperature anomalies, because as I just showed you, Erin is going to become quite aggressive, is going to balloon out and become a very powerful system here in the northeastern Atlantic. And a lot of it, honestly, has to do with the fact at just how warm the sea surface temperature anomalies here are, especially in the northern Atlantic. And I've mentioned this for quite a bit of while now. These sea surface temperature anomalies were going to help contribute to a very powerful system, and that's what's going to happen with Erin. That's part of the reason why I think Erin is going to become a very, very powerful and very large system here in the northeast, in the northern Atlantic. Is going to be because of just how warm it is. But once it churns up all of these waters, you're going to see quite a bit of these sea surface temperature anomalies begin to cool down, and then as a result, We still have very warm sea surface temperature anomalies throughout the deep tropics, especially here through the MDR, and especially as we get further westward still into the Caribbean and Gulf. Sea surface temperature anomalies are anywhere from a degree to even still areas here throughout the Caribbean and Gulf, and probably will remain somewhat off the East Coast here. We still have sea surface temperatures anomalies a degree to even 2 degrees Celsius above normal. And this is something that we're going to have to watch very, very closely over the next several weeks, because today is August 20th. Today is the first day of the peak of hurricane season. So whatever happens with Erin, even though this will obviously stay out to sea, I've been saying this for the last few days, you cannot breathe a sigh of relief. The Atlantic behind Erin is still very, very warm. In fact, let me really quickly skip ahead here because I want to show you actual sea surface temperatures, but I'll show you that in a second. This is a tweet from Andy Hazelton yesterday. He tweeted this last night. The Atlantic sea surface temperature configuration has turned quite favorable looking for tropical cyclone development over the last couple of weeks, in large part driven by reduced trades over the Caribbean. In fact, 2025 now ranks number 7 in terms of warmest MDR sea surface temperature anomalies. And he says this is with tropics mean anomaly removed to bias correct for climate trends or whatever that means. Bottom line, Atlantic is very warm right now. And let's just take a look at some of the years that are, because this is, I think, Andy Hazelton listing all the top 10 years. 2025 is number 7. Some of the years that are above this year. What are some of those years? 1998, 2005, 1995, last year, 2024, 2023, and 2010. And I can already see that some of these years that are here above 2025, especially 1998, stand out. 2005 stands out for obvious reasons. And 1995. 1995 had a very, very aggressive MDR season with a lot of very long tracking storms that year. And I mean, we had Erin, very, very long track storm that originated quite literally just west of the Cabo Verde Islands and lasted throughout pretty much the entire MDR, and then obviously, blossomed here in the Western Atlantic, just north of the islands, where I'll show you with the actual sea surface temperatures. You could actually see the cold wake from Erin. You could see where sea surface temperatures were probably around 28, 29 degrees Celsius. Well, they've been reduced a little bit, but probably going to warm up. I mean, we're in August. We're still at the height of summer right now. So all of these sea surface temperatures that are very warm, that have been knocked down by Erin, they're probably going to rebound. And it's only August 20th. This map is as of August 19th. It's only today's the first day of the peak of the hurricane season. In fact, I've actually retweeted from Philip Klotzbach, and he actually talked about this. Let me really quickly bring him up if I can find him. Philip Klotzbach. Here we go. This is it. On August 20th, he's talking about Dr. Bill Gray, which was one of the lead forecasters at CSU. Unfortunately, he passed away around 11 years ago. I think, not 11, 9 years ago, because he passed away in 2016. But he mentions here in this last sentence, historically, 2/3 of all Atlantic hurricane activity occurs between August 20th and October 10th. So we are now just only starting to get into the meat of the hurricane season. And we have very warm sea surface temperature anomalies. And we already have Erin, quite an aggressive storm, quite a very large hurricane. And even with the fact that it's not going to make landfall along the United States coastline, still going to bring impacts to North Carolina. And I mean, it already leaves a legacy behind of just being an absolutely incredible storm, peaking at Category 5 intensity, and quite a remarkable Category 5 as well, and rapidly doing so. Uh, in just a span of 24 hours, I think it dropped in its initial rapid intensification phase, dropped 70 millibars. So quite an incredible legacy Erin is going to leave behind, even though it will not make landfall. But obviously, it is not over yet. We still have probably a few days left of tracking ahead with Erin, and we're going to see how it does over the next few days, especially as it makes its close approach to North Carolina, and we'll see what happens with that. Let's actually see really quickly, has Recon updated at all? Looks like they're going for another center pass, and I should actually note something else incredible with Recon, and really goes to show the incredible size with this storm. This is at least 100 or so miles away from the center, and Recon is finding peak flight level winds, probably at least 100 miles away from the center, at upwards of 100. This is at least 100. So this is at least here, flight level winds at least 113 knots. And that's all very far away from the center of Erin. And that just goes to show how incredibly large of a storm Erin is. And this is once again going to bring impacts to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And they're going for another center pass right now. So we'll see, has the pressure of Erin dropped at all in the last hour or so. Would not be shocked if it's dropped a little bit more, obviously, because it is now becoming a little bit more organized. And let's actually bring this satellite imagery back to specifically right on Erin. Let's actually see this. This is the latest satellite picture of Erin, and it has convective bursts occurring right around the eye. So it's definitely trying to solidify its inner core, and I will say kind of remarkable that it has a pretty small core relative to a very, very large, expansive cloud cover and wind field with it, and that's also probably why we're seeing some intensification in the way that it is. And so, yeah, it's going to be the biggest thing we're going to be watching over the next few days here. Is the expansive wind field. And in fact, we're actually already starting to see some of these cloud tops here. Probably going to start seeing some of these outer bands very shortly begin to make their way onshore to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Let me actually see what the radar shows. And let's see. Let me actually get a loop because I want to see how these rain bands are doing. And let's just give it a quick second to load. And you can see right off the coast here on radar already some of these bands becoming visible. In fact, we even have some smaller bands here by Erin already becoming visible and already beginning to reach the coastal Outer Banks of North Carolina. And these bands are only probably going to continue to advance their way northward over the next several hours, and probably by tomorrow night, Erin is or not tomorrow night, tonight, Erin is going to start bringing impacts that are noticeable to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. In fact, I think there's already high tide beginning to occur. Let's actually really quickly see National Weather Service, Newport and Moorhead. This is they tweeted this from this morning. Your window for evacuating vulnerable areas is closing. So I think there is evacuation actually occurring along the Outer Banks. Worst impacts with surge and coastal flooding begin this evening with high tide. So high tide is going to occur this evening with Erin. So we're not quite at the moment where impacts are occurring yet. And actually, since we're on Twitter, or X as you would like to call it, if you haven't already done so, please make sure to follow me right here on Twitter at Danilo Evangelista. I have 451 followers, and I actually gained quite a bit of followers in recent days thanks to Erin. So if you're actually following me on YouTube right now, because you can actually see I posted the link here to our YouTube, to this live stream on my Twitter, and that's also another reason you should follow me on Twitter, because even if you don't get the notifications right here on YouTube, um, sometimes, especially when I go live, I post the link to my YouTube right here on Twitter. So if you are coming from Twitter, hello, make sure to follow me right here on YouTube. And if you are watching via YouTube right now and you're not yet followed to my Twitter, make sure to follow me here at Danilo Evangelista. I post a lot of information. As you can see, I posted quite a bit on Erin throughout the day so far. Erin up to 110 miles per hour. This is as of 11 a.m. Also posting quite a bit on satellite pictures of Erin, as it is quite an incredible storm. Definitely probably one of the most photogenic storms in the Atlantic that we've seen in quite a while. And it only tops it off that this is gonna impact, because of how large it is. This will bring impacts to portions of coastal North Carolina. So, with that being said, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the chat below. Definitely going to wait a few more minutes to see if anybody has any questions or comments on Erin, especially if you have any questions about any specific area that you might have, or any questions about your specific area that you might have relating to impacts to Erin. Definitely leave them in the comments below, because I'm definitely running out of things to say. If not, we're going to wrap it up here very shortly. But I'm going to leave a few minutes for any comments or questions, so please make sure to send them. And of course, if you like this live stream, if you like the way you saw, please make sure to follow me on YouTube, because even if I'm not doing these live streams, I will be posting quite a bit of videos throughout the day today. I already posted a video this morning. Probably going to post a video once I finish up here on YouTube, which that'll probably happen in a few minutes. So please, if you've not sent in a question yet, make sure to do so now. And I'm probably going to post again tonight. But of course, as I just showed you with my Twitter, I'll be posting throughout the day on Twitter as well. So please make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube, turn on the notification bell, and also follow me on Twitter. And if you want to keep on top of the information as it's coming in, and keep on top of your current local weather conditions, even without having to rely on me for a video to give you the latest, best website I can really show you to, or the best website that I can prescribe you, almost like a doctor giving you what you need to know. Best website I can recommend you is weather.gov. Once again, you can literally enter your zip code for where exactly you live, and it'll automatically direct you to your local National Weather Service office. So make sure to use weather.gov, because there's definitely quite a bit in terms of watches and warnings that we have for coastal North Carolina right now. And please make sure to read if you can. If you don't want to, that's understandable. But if you can, and if you have the time, please make sure to go over all of these watches and warnings. And I know these watches and warning texts can be a little bit confusing, because, for instance, they literally have all of the watches and warnings listed for, I think, pretty much every single county. I think this is what these individual texts are. It's for every single individual county where the watches and warnings encompass. So you'll have to scroll down and find your specific county to get information on what to expect with Erin, or on a specific watch or warning or statement or advisory like we have many of those here. So it might take a little bit of time, but yeah, if you have the time, I really recommend that you do so. Scroll through all of these um, watches and warnings and advisories. But if not, I'll give you the three that you need to pay attention to the most: storm surge warning, tropical storm warning, and rip current statements. Those are the three probably biggest ones that you need to watch. Maybe, pay attention to the beach hazard statements as well, but these are kind of honestly, and actually maybe also pay attention to the flood warnings and advisories as well. But I mean, I think that's kind of covered as something that you need to watch for with storm surge, because obviously storm surge causes flooding. But those are probably the biggest three that I would pay attention to: storm surge, tropical storm, and rip currents. And again, watch the tropics. Watch what happens here with Erin over the next several hours. Impacts will probably begin to be felt along the Outer Banks later this afternoon and this evening. And I'll probably have a video update then, and I'll definitely be updating you on any latest information once we get it on air and around then. So I'll be doing multiple videos throughout the day today. So if you've not followed me on YouTube, make sure to do so. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can get whenever I upload videos. Especially because we'll be probably talking about the tropics quite a bit over the next several weeks. Once again, Erin is just the beginning of what will probably be a very, very, very long peak. So, with that being said, enough of me rambling, because I feel like I've only been rambling pretty much for the entirety of the last hour. So if you do not have any questions or comments, which I'm not getting any right now, so I guess if I'm not going to get any questions or comments here, I think I'm going to wrap it up for this live stream. If you, again, enjoyed what you saw, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I know I might sound like a broken record, but please, I really, really would like you to do so. And make sure to stay tuned, because we're not done yet for today. We're probably going to have another video coming right after I post or I finish up this live stream here. Will be a quick update on Erin, and then expect another update on YouTube tonight, going over Erin, and we'll probably also make time to go over what is going on in the rest of the tropics, because there are a few other things we need to watch. None of them are expected to impact land, as I think I showed you really briefly with the GFS. GFS does indeed develop something, especially because we have an area of interest in the MDR. We actually have two, but there is one in the central MDR right now. The GFS does develop that, but it is not expected to impact land, and I think I showed you the GFS briefly. It does not come anywhere close to land, except if you count Bermuda, which, I mean, Bermuda is land, there is population in it, but at least to the United States coast, there is nothing. It does not come anywhere close. So at least for the next week to 2 weeks, beyond Erin, we're probably good in terms of any direct impacts from the tropics. Right now, the biggest focus when it comes to impacts is directly on Erin, and obviously we'll continue to do updates throughout the rest of the day. But for now, since it's approaching 1 o'clock, I think I'm going to end it off here. Maybe going to wait a little bit more. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure to leave that. And even as this live stream ends, if you're seeing this live stream in replay, you can leave a comment in the comment section as well, and I will still see it, and I'll definitely try to respond to whenever I can. And also, comment on any other videos that I might post today, which I will be doing multiple. So lots of ways to ask me questions, and even ask me questions on Twitter too, especially if you have any of them. All right, I think I'm going to end it off, because really don't have anything else to talk about. Really not much else to be updated on right now. Let's actually really quickly see what Recon shows. They did do another sensor pass, so I guess we're going to get a dropsonde you know, a new drops on here in a moment. Let's actually see what the latest one was. Uh, Definitely not in the eye, so not paying attention to that. But we're going to get another drops on here, and we'll probably see what the new pressure is on Erin. And I think it's probably dropped a little bit, um, although I don't really know. I mean, satellite wise, you got to say that Erin is definitely looking a lot better than it is today. I mean, this is the latest satellite frame. Definitely looks better than yesterday, so it's definitely gotten better in organization. Let's just see if this is actually intensifying and will this become a major hurricane again? I think it probably will. But I think that's really irrelevant because, once again, the biggest threat we're really talking about here is with the winds that'll be reaching the coastline of the Outer Banks. But I guess that's it for now. I'm going to wrap it up for this live stream. And once again, if you enjoy what you saw, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned because this is not it. We're going to be posting a lot more throughout the rest of the day. But until then, enjoy the rest of your day, stay safe, and I'll be back with more later on.